hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
The second part of our fireside chat today revolves around a candy you might remember. It's called Now and Later, and it's a fruity candy, a little bit like Starburst. So it got me thinking about now, our current circumstance, and later. What will we be like? Right now we see all kinds of wonderful behavior from human beings, the caring for others, the sacrificing for others, the reaching out, the praying. But what about later? I also see right now some really rotten behavior. People hoarding, people treating each other badly, pushing and shoving sometimes in stores. What will we be like later? Right now it's a mixed bag, and the question of what will we be like later is really up in the air. And I wonder, when we get back to some sense of normalcy, and we will we be any different? Will we be any kinder, any more decent? Will our political division be any less? Will we be more faithful? After 9/11, people rushed back into churches looking for spiritual answers, looking for prayerful comfort. But a year later, 2 years later, seemed like we'd return to where we were before 9/11. What will we be like later, after the now that we're experiencing? Right now, we see great behavior and some rotten behavior. Later, after we're returning to some sense of normalcy, will we be kinder, gentler? Will we be more faithful? And that depends on us. The answers to those questions we will find out later. The third part of our fireside chat concerns Daniel in the Old Testament. In 597 BC, Babylon overthrew Jerusalem, took it over, destroyed a lot of it, captured the best and the brightest of Jerusalem, and exiled them back to Babylon. Daniel was one of those young men who was taken from his homeland and exiled to Babylon. While he was there, they tried to re-educate him, to make him Babylonian. Daniel resisted, trying to maintain his sense of self as a Hebrew man, faithful to God. At one point in Babylon, King Darius made a decree that no one was allowed to pray to any god other than King Darius. So Daniel's faced with a dilemma. He could get in serious trouble by continuing to pray to Yahweh, to his God. But if he prays to King Darius, he denies his identity as a young Hebrew man, a believer in God. What would Daniel do? Chapter 6 tells us, "Then Daniel learned that the decree had been published. He went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God." We've been exiled to a much lesser degree. We've been sent out of our churches, out of the life we knew. Far less social, much more contracted. In our exile, how will we respond? Daniel was in an extreme situation, taken from his homeland, transported to a foreign nation who tried to retrain him and recreate him and transform him into a Babylonian. He resisted. He wanted to remain a child of God. And faced with this incredible dilemma, pray to God and maintain your identity and your integrity, and face danger. Or just do what you're told and worship King Darius. Daniel stayed true to his faith, looking out the window toward Jerusalem, looking at what once was and longing for it to be again. And he prayed. He got down on his knees and prayed 3 times a day. thinking about Jerusalem and his former life, with hope that it would be restored. Many of you know the rest of the story. Daniel's eventually thrown into the lion's den where he survives. He comes out of the lion's den, and King Darius is so moved by Daniel's deep faith that he repeals the order, and King Darius himself comes to a faith in God. We're experiencing just a little bit of our own exile. And in this period of time, maybe there's some pressure, maybe there's some temptation to become something other than the Christian person that we know we are. Here's our chance to look towards the life we once knew, with restaurants and baseball games and graduations. We look back, hoping that we can maintain our faith during this difficult exile, and that we can grow. Have a great week. We'll see you back here next week.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot,